If you are considering switching to Ally Bank, just generally dissatisfied with your bank, or want to waste a couple minutes to procrastinate something that you really should be doing, this is the video for you. We've been using Ally Bank for around 2 years now, so I wanted to take some time and give a full and thorough review of the service and let you know what I think about it. Originally, I spent the first half of my life with a local credit union, then I switched to Wells Fargo Bank, which was just fine. It was fine. The biggest reason that I was looking at making a switch was because we were developing our own personal automated budget system that we needed to have multiple checking accounts and savings accounts for. And with Wells Fargo, at least at the time, at least how I knew it, it was a pain to open new accounts. You typically would have to go into the office and be there for 30 minutes or an hour per account to open. And so I wanted something that was much easier. So we heard that with Ally Bank, that was easy to do. So we gave it a shot and we've been with them for a while now. So I'm gonna start with the pros and then we're gonna move to the cons and then I'll give like a little summary. So to start with, the pros, it's free. Like that's the best thing. One of my issues with Wells Fargo and some of the other bigger banks is that you get nickeled and dimed if you don't pay attention. There's a fee for this, a fee for that. You have to maintain a certain balance if you do too many transactions. All those sort of things can add fees. I was able to set it up so that we didn't pay fees with Wells Fargo, but if you weren't very careful, you could end up paying $30, $40, $50 in fees per month. So that is one thing that I really appreciate about them. They don't have a monthly maintenance fee. There's no monthly minimums, free checks, free cashier checks. So number two is it's extremely quick and easy to use and to do. So if you want to open a new checking account and you already have a checking account with them, it literally takes less than a minute to open a checking account. If you want to order new checks, first off, the checks are free, which is great. And it literally, I just did it to test to see how fast it would take me to order checks. And it literally took me 15 seconds to order checks. Number three, it has very easy to use multi-user access. So if you want to share your account with a spouse or someone in your family, you can delegate access to them. They have their own login that they manage, but then you can give them access to what accounts you want to give them access to. All right, so the fourth pro is high deposit and transfer limits, both when you're depositing checks and if you're making transfers to or from other banks. They have decent sized limits. So for depositing, you can deposit up to $50,000 a day and $250,000 over 30 days. And then the transfer limits are bonkers. They allow you to do like $500,000 in transfers per day to Ally. And then from Ally, they allow you to do up to $150,000 per day. So that's more than generous. If you're doing more than that, this is probably not the bank for you, but there's probably a very specific bank that is for you. I just don't see the average person needing anything more than that. So that's number four. Number five, ATMs. They give you access for free to a network of ATMs called Allpoint, which has 55,000 participating ATMs across the country. In my area, I checked and there's about 24, so there's plenty of them. But even better than that is you can use any ATM and they will reimburse you up to $10 a month per statement cycle. I don't have clarity on if that's $10 total per month in ATM fees or if that's $10 per transaction. I had contacted their support before to ask them that specific question and they said it was per transaction, but I went to look for the answer for that again and I could not find anything in writing. And one of the cons we'll get to later is that their customer support has been a little slow. So I don't have that answer for you. Number six, one great feature that I love, especially coming from somewhere like Wells Fargo, is they have chat support. So with Wells Fargo, if I had any questions, I either needed to go into a branch or I needed to pick up the phone and call and click through a bunch of phone number systems and selections and all that kind of stuff, and it's just a pain and I hate it. The great thing is they have a chat feature right in their app and you can chat with their support team that way. Number seven, the app is solid. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I wouldn't say it's bad. It's just, it does what you would expect and it's pretty dependable. The only minor issue I have with it is that if I set up Face ID every once in a while, I have to reset up Face ID. I don't think that that's a limitation of Apple because I don't have to do that on other apps that I use Face ID on. So it feels specific to this app that it glitches every once in a while. So that's a little bit of a pain, but otherwise it works totally as expected. So that's it for the pros, and now we're gonna move on to the cons. The first con, which I alluded to earlier, is the support has been slow. When I first got on with them, if I opened up the chat support, within minutes, it felt like you were texting with a friend, you would have a response. Now, I mean, the other day I had a question and literally it was 7 hours before they connected me with a support representative. Today, to try to get that answer to the ATM question that I had, I called them because the chat was gonna be a little bit, and there was a 34-minute wait time. So support has gotten slow, which to some extent is understandable because most industries are experiencing understaffing. And so I have some allowance for that because probably if we compared them to other banks in the industry right right now, they would probably have similar issues across the board. Number two, with Ally Bank, you do not have access to cash deposits at all. So if you get cash regularly and need to deposit that into the bank, you're going to need to have another local bank that you can deposit that money and then transfer it from that one bank into Ally. For us, that's not an issue. We only typically need to get cash. We don't need to give cash. So it's not an issue at all, but that could be a problem for someone. The third con is that I set up an investment account with them. When they show you all of your account balances, they show you a total number of your account balances. So that includes any checking accounts you have access to, any savings accounts you have access to, and your investment accounts. But what I don't like about that is, like I just talked about in my last video, is I'm trying to pay less attention to my investment account numbers, because as the market is in turmoil, I don't want to be stressed out when my account goes down by multiple thousands of dollars in a day. So when I look at my account and I see that large number going down, it messes with my head. So in the long run, I plan on moving our investment accounts away from Ally. I did have other issues with the investment accounts, as I've never had a major issue trying to figure out how to place an order and to set it up, but I really got stuck in their system trying to figure out how to make it go through. And so it just wasn't as intuitive as I would have hoped. All right, so the last con, which is number 4, is a complicated one. It has to do with checking accounts overdrafts. So what they allow you to do, and what allows them to avoid overdraft fees, is they allow you to connect your checking account to a savings account that you have some funds in. And so if your checking account reaches a negative amount, then it will automatically withdraw money from your savings account and put it in your checking account. The issue is, the way that we do our budgeting system is that we keep a smaller amount of money in our checking accounts, and every once in a while we will overdraft, maybe a couple times a month, because we try to force that number to be a little bit low. So when that happens, it pulls the money out of the savings account. The issue is the savings account, by federal law, are required to only allow 6 transactions from your savings account per month. It's some regulation called Regulation D. This is not Ally's choice. This is across the board that the withdrawals from savings accounts are regulated so that it helps the bank maintain a certain level of funds. But the issue for me is, unless there's some regulation I'm not aware of, they could fix this by allowing the checking account to be linked to another checking account to withdraw money from when your account reaches 0. So that's a complicated issue. That may not be an issue for everyone, but for us it's a little bit of a headache that every once in a while we are in danger of getting a $10 fee per transaction out of the savings account when we've reached that limit. So those are the pros and cons. Overall, we are extremely happy with Ally Bank. We're glad we made the switch. And in most cases, I think you also will be thrilled by it, especially if you're coming from a credit union or even some of the bigger banks that have lots of fees and stuff like that. They've just been a joy to work with. The primary place where I think that you might have issues is if you need to make cash deposits. If you still want to use Ally, you're gonna have to have another bank. And the other issue would be, I do not recommend it for investing. I would stick to some of the major brokerage firms like Fidelity is who I use and enjoy and like. So that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next time on the channel.